female vampires are as deadly as their male counterparts. Like the men of their species, they are cunning, beautiful, seductive, manipulative, and have a thirst for blood. They may not have as strong a presence in the media as male vampires, but when they do appear, they show their fangs. Some of the most beloved vampire characters by fans aren't overtly sexual, though many female vampires tend to be. In this way, they closely resemble succubus. The vampires who are openly sexualized serve both as a warning and an allure to the power of darker sexual pleasures. However, it is the blood that these vampires crave more than anything, and they are willing to use any tactic to reach their prized food sources. For this reason, in this top list, I will talk to you about the most beautiful, dangerous, and powerful vampires in fiction. Before we begin, I have a small request for you. If you enjoy my content, I invite you to join our community by simply clicking to subscribe to the channel. Your action, though small, propels these videos. I deeply appreciate your support. And now it's time to begin. Number 10. Santiago Pandemonium. Santiago Pandemonium, formerly known as Esmeralda, first appeared in the 1999 film From Dusk Till Dawn. She was the vampire queen of the Titty Twister Bar and an ex-dampier before being converted by her mother and grandmother. Santiago is a highly seductive vampire, using her beauty to allure everyone in the Titty Twister Bar, except for Kate Fuller and the other vampires. As Esmeralda, she was gentle and kind. However, as Santiago, she initially appeared gentle, willing to forgive her father and reunite with Johnny, but gradually became undeniably cold and cruel, as evidenced by her plans to turn Seth Gecko into her vampire slave. She was also arrogant and tyrannical, proclaiming herself as the queen of the Titty Twister and considering herself more powerful than humans. During her time as Esmeralda, she liked humans, but after becoming the vampire queen, Santiago saw them as mere food sources. As Esmeralda, she feared her mother, but as Santiago, she obeyed her mother's order to kill her grandmother. She always acted human while dancing for customers, but when blood was spilled, her vampiric instincts took over, making her intensely bloodthirsty. Her powers are comparable to those of a common vampire, possessing all their weaknesses like sunlight and religious artifacts. However, her most dangerous attribute is her ability to seduce men and bend them to her will. Number 9. Nissa Damaskinos. Nissa Damaskinos was a pure-blood vampire and the daughter of the vampire nation's ruler, Damaskinos. She was also a member of the Blood Pack, an elite task force that trained for 2 years to kill Blade, her people's sworn enemy. Years later, she joined forces with Blade to eliminate the threat of the Reapers. Nissa was a pure-blood vampire living in Prague at the start of the 21st century. In 1999, Nissa and her partner Assad sought the help of their most feared enemy, the Daywalker Blade, to stop an even more powerful threat, the Reapers. Nissa worked alongside a team of highly trained vampire agents, the Blood Pack, and was present during the Blood Pack's raid on the House of Pain in search of Reapers. After the mission, Nissa discovered that the progenitor of the Reaper strain was her own brother, Jared Nomak. Nomak bit Nissa, infecting her with the Reaper virus. Before succumbing to its effects, she asked Blade to take her to her father's building rooftop so she could see the sunrise. As the sun rose, Nissa turned to ashes and died in Blade's arms. Despite Blade being her sworn enemy, Nissa had mutual feelings for him, and Blade was visibly affected by her death. Nissa possessed all the characteristic abilities of a vampire in the Blade movie universe, but she also had formidable combat skills, enough to fight on par with Blade, a highly competent fighter in his own right. Nissa was adept at fighting with a pair of wakizashi swords and had a high level of skill and understanding in surgery and biology, especially regarding vampires and reapers. Number 8. Rain. Rain is the main protagonist of the Blood Rain franchise. She is the daughter of the vampire Kagan and an unnamed human woman, making her a Dampier. She is an agent of the Brimstone Society, a secret fraternity dedicated to protecting humanity from all supernatural evils. Rain is an American-born Dampier from around 1915, conceived when her vampire father Kagan assaulted her human mother. After Rain's birth, Kagan drove her mother insane and murdered her and Rain's entire maternal family, ensuring Rain could only turn to him. This was not out of cruelty, but a policy for all Vampire and vampire children he created to ensure their loyalty to him alone, using them in his cult army to dominate the human race. After her mother's death, Rain was taken in by Professor Tremaine in Europe before she could become evil like many of her siblings. She spent her teenage years trying to track and kill her father to avenge her family, hunting vampires across Europe to gather information on his whereabouts before being arrested by police in 1932. Though she claimed her victims were vampires, the authorities didn't believe her. She soon escaped and continued her hunt. In 1933, her vampire killings attracted the attention of the Brimstone Society, who had been observing her for some time and saw her potential as a powerful agent. After pursuing a pair of vampires, killing the male, and interrogating the female unsuccessfully about her father's location, Rain narrowly escaped an ambush by vampires drawn by the captive female's distress call. She escaped to a nearby rooftop where her Brimstone observers were, leaving a grenade to kill the vampires. There, Rain discovered a Brimstone necklace left by her supervisors, viewing it with curiosity. This mysterious piece of jewelry was an invitation, and she was recruited shortly after turning 18. As a Vampire, Rain possesses many of a vampire's supernatural abilities and traits. She does not appear to have a hyperpredatory bloodlust to maintain optimal physical condition or prevent fading out, but rather seems to enjoy casually feeding on blood at her own will. Rain is extremely powerful and equally dangerous. Her upbringing, training, and thirst for vengeance have honed all her physical and supernatural abilities, making her Brimstone's best and deadliest agent. Number 7. Queen Aasha. Queen Aasha, also simply known as Aasha, is the main antagonist of Anne Rice's The Vampire Chronicles series and its 2002 film adaptation, Queen of the Damned. She is the oppressive queen of vampires as the first vampire ever born. According to the novel series, Aasha is one of the two ancient vampires alongside her husband and king in Kill. They are both known as those who must be kept. Aasha is a sadistic vampire who shows no mercy, enjoying toying with her victims before ripping out their hearts or simply setting them ablaze. She also enjoys killing humans for fun, viewing them as inferior beings, and similarly looks down on less powerful vampires. Despite her immense physical and magical powers, Aasha is the most powerful vampire of her kind, but is ultimately subdued by several of the oldest vampires. Number 6, 5, and 4. Dracula's Brides. Dracula's brides are the three companions chosen and converted by Count Dracula to be his loyal brides and minions. They appeared in the 2004 movie Van Helsing, portrayed by Josie Marin, Sylvia Coloca, and Elena Ania. Mariška's past remains a mystery to all except her fellow brides and master, Count Dracula. It's hinted that she might have been a performer, possibly a dancer, reflected in her attire and flirtatious, carefree demeanor. At some point, she was converted by the great vampire Lord Count Dracula into a bloodthirsty vampire, becoming one of his brides. She is the second youngest of the current three brides and is often tasked with menial tasks, such as eliminating any opposition to her master's grand plans, though she doesn't seem to mind. At the film's start, Mariška, along with Illyria and Verona, flies over the mountains to regroup with Dracula after a heated battle with Frankenstein's monster. Mariška was the first bride killed by Gabriel Van Helsing. She first encountered the monster hunter upon his arrival in Transylvania and tried to kill him under Verona's orders. Mariška enjoyed toying with Gabriel, seductively mocking him until Verona impatiently ordered her to end her games and kill him. Mariška attacked Gabriel, tossing him around like a rag doll. However, Gabriel took his repeating crossbow and ran to a nearby basin of holy water. Realizing his intention too late, Mariška lunged to kill him, but Gabriel dipped the crossbow's tip into the basin and shot her with holy water arrows. She fell from the sky, crashing into a church bell tower. Immobilized and unable to escape, the holy water began rapidly dissolving her skin, and she screamed as her body reduced to ashes and bones. Verona. Like her fellow brides, Verona's past is a complete mystery to all but her and Count Dracula. Given her elegant yet domineering behavior, she is suggested to be of noble blood, possibly royalty. At some point, Dracula bit Verona, turning her into his first vampire bride. It is also implied that she is the first and oldest of Dracula's brides, as she is seen giving orders to the other two with condescending tones and threatening facial expressions. Despite how she treats Mariška and Illyra, she claims to love them. Verona is utterly loyal to her master, always eager to please him by any means necessary, though she is not above disagreeing with him. Her only desire is for their children to be given the key to life, achieved through Frankenstein's creation. Like her sisters, Verona is seen at the beginning of the movie mourning the apparent death of Frankenstein's monster, necessary for giving life to their children. They attacked Anna Valerius and the villagers, intending to capture Anna for their master. She and Illyra managed to corner Anna in a nearby tavern and tried to feed on her. However, they were stopped when they sensed the death of their sister bride, Mariška, which triggered the two to return to their vampiric forms and flee back to Dracula's castle. Once there, they tried to convince their master not to proceed with another experiment that might result in their children's death, but Dracula intimidated and then consoled them. The experiment, using Vulcan Valerius as a catalyst, was successful, and their children came to life. She and Illyra then led the newborn vampires to the village to feed on the unfortunate villagers. Their plan was going accordingly, but then the vampire babies began to swell and burst into puddles of viscous substance. The use of Vulcan as a catalyst during the experiment proved to be too insufficient and made the babies defective. Seeing their children die made the pair cry in pain and flee back to Frankenstein's castle. When Vulcan located Frankenstein's monster, he informed Dracula and his brides. Dracula sent Verona and Illyra to capture him. Verona died after realizing that Van Helsing's carriage was a decoy carrying a bomb of stakes, which exploded, sending stakes through her body and killing her. Illyra. In the past, Illyra was part of Anna's group, learning to fight alongside them. One day, while fighting Dracula, the Count told Illyra of his desire for her to join his harem, offering her eternal life and wealth. Anna persuaded Illyra to reject the offer, but she did not realize the control Dracula now had over Illyra. She began visiting Dracula, enchanted by him and welcomed by Verona and Mariška. When Anna discovered this betrayal, it was too late to win back her friend, and when she tried, Dracula flew away with Illyra and turned her into his bride. Like her sisters, Illyra was seen at the beginning of the movie mourning the monster's death. She participated in the attack on the village, but confronted Anna before Verona. She and Verona almost drank her blood, but fled after Mariška's death. She, like Verona, tried to convince her husband not to keep trying to give life to their children. After Verona's death, Illyra captured Anna and brought her back to Dracula, then was sent to seek Van Helsing to discuss an exchange. She left the masquerade ball with Dracula after they had the monster and headed back to Dracula's castle. Later, she confronted Carl and Anna in the tower where the werewolf cure was guarded. This led to a fight between her and Anna. Anna would have been killed by Illyra if not for the intervention of the Frankenstein monster. Illyra reached Anna at the top of the castle, where she was impaled with a silver stake. Notably, among all the brides, Illyra was the most respectful to her husband, openly addressing Dracula as Master and Lord when speaking to or about him continuously throughout the movie. She was jealous of anyone who competed for his affection. Number 3. Vampira. Vampira was an inhabitant of the planet Draculan, a world where a vampiric race lived off blood which flowed in rivers. Draculan orbited twin suns that were causing droughts across the planet, leading to an apocalypse for Vampira and her race. The Vampiri, the race from which Vampira was born, could transform into bats at will, possessed superhuman physical attributes, and could sprout wings for flight when necessary. Soon, the inhabitants of Draculan began to die slowly as their blood supply dried up. During these desperate times, a spaceship from Earth crashed on the planet. Driven by her curious nature, Vampira went to investigate and was attacked. In retaliation, she discovered that the astronauts had blood in their veins. To save her race, she managed to pilot the ship back to Earth, where her adventures began. Upon arriving on Earth, Vampira tried to integrate into Earth's society by attending a television contest. Unfortunately, she boarded a plane that crashed, leaving her severely injured. To survive, Vampira drank the blood of all the crash victims and then wandered off until she was found by members of the Cult of Chaos. They cared for Vampira until she regained her health, intending to exploit her natural abilities. However, once she learned their true intentions, Vampira attacked them and thwarted one of their evil plans to unleash chaos upon the world. Vampira continued to fight against the cult of chaos, and in the process she found the Crimson Chronicles, a book of occult knowledge that helped her stop drinking human blood for sustenance. Unfortunately, her activities attracted the attention of the notorious vampire hunter Conrad Van Helsing, who declared war on Vampira. Vampira possesses many of the typical powers of mythological vampires. She exerts super strength when facing her opponents and can move so fast she appears as a blur. Her senses are far beyond those of humans, allowing her to discern one's emotional state through their scent, hear things imperceptible to humans, and see clearly in total darkness. She is highly athletic, possessing endurance, reflexes, and agility beyond human capabilities. Her healing factor grants her rapid recovery from wounds and makes her immune to earthly diseases and toxins. In addition to her supernatural abilities, Vampira is a formidable hand-to-hand combatant and is shown to be skilled with modern firearms. Number 2. Carmela. Carmela is the secondary main antagonist in the animated series Castlevania. She is the vampiric queen of Styria and the leader of the Council of Sisters. Carmela, an intriguing and manipulative noblewoman and former ally and general of Dracula, sought to seize control over vampires and elevate them as the new dominant species in the world. She was the last vampire general to arrive at Dracula's castle, primarily due to her hidden agenda. It was soon revealed that she was dissatisfied with Dracula's plans for human extinction, mainly because this would leave the vampire population without a stable blood supply. She was turned into a vampire centuries ago by an unnamed vampire lord, whom she later killed, claiming he was old and cruel to those around him. Carmela is a pale woman with crimson red lips, icy blue eyes, and long, straight white hair. Her face is mostly round with a notably pointed chin, possibly referencing her mask initially seen in Castlevania II: Simon's Quest. Carmela lacks the abilities of her game counterpart, but remains immensely powerful. She displays tremendous speed, agility, and strength, only surpassed by Dracula himself. She wields a blood-red scimitar with supreme skill and can infuse it with lightning surges to enhance her speed and power. However, she can become exhausted from prolonged battles. Number 1. Seline. Seline is a former vampire death dealer turned by the ancient vampire Victor after he killed her family without her knowledge. Born to Hungarian parents around 1383, she eventually became the first vampire Corvinus hybrid. Her partner and lover was Michael Corvin, the first hybrid, and together they have a hybrid daughter named Eve. Seline is currently one of the new vampire elders alongside David and Lena, and therefore one of the leaders of the entire vampire race. Seline is typically stoic, serious, cold, and distant, rarely smiling, and not known for having a sense of humor. She never seems to laugh and has admitted she's not good with feelings. Generally, she is businesslike and has no patience for fools, given her disdain for arrogant and insufferable vampires like Craven. She is also stubborn and obstinate, even to the extreme, refusing to back down during suspicious activity or until a task is completed. She is fiercely independent, sometimes to the point of ignoring even potentially fatal injuries. Her attitude stems from her centuries as a hardened warrior, showing no mercy to her enemies. Being sired by Victor, an elder, along with her respectable age, Seline's vampiric abilities are much stronger than most of her vampire kin and become significantly stronger after consuming the blood of Alexander Corvinus and enhanced by the Nordic cocoon ritual. She is an experienced death dealer and a cunning fighter, regularly showing a talent for improvisation when faced with particularly challenging situations or opponents. She is even capable of reasonably well-fighting hybrids like Quint, Marcus, and Marius. Seline is extremely competent with many types of weapons, both medieval and modern. Hey, don't go just yet. If you enjoyed my video, I'd love to recommend another one for you to watch.